Hey guys, it's Sarah. I was nominated to do the Sisterhood of the World Bloggers Award by Lydia at Something Like Lydia. This is the first time I've ever been sort of tagged in anything on BookTube, so I'm very excited about it. I do have an actual written blog, but I thought since I was nominated to do this by a booktuber that I would just go ahead and do it on BookTube. Now, the idea here is that you answer the 10 questions that the person who nominated you gave you, and then you nominate 10 other people and give them 10 new questions. The first question is, what is your favorite independently published book? For this, I'm going to have to say a book called Errant Autumn. These are poems that my friend A.D. Gaspard wrote. I believe this came out in 2006, 2007, something like that. These poems are all really great, so I would definitely recommend checking this out. I know it's available on Amazon, I believe. I will find it and link to it down below. The next question is, do you read poetry, and who is your favorite poet? Now, clearly, I do read poetry because the first book that I talked about was a book of poems, but two of my favorite poets are Marge Piercy, she's kind of a contemporary writer, and T.S. Eliot, because he's awesome. I read The Wasteland in a poetry class that I took in college, and the first time I read it, I just really didn't get it at all. I didn't like it at all. And then we spent 2 weeks going over this poem, and as my professor was kind of going through and explaining it, I sort of started to see how beautiful it really was, and then I became obsessed with it. And now I love T.S. Eliot. He's one of my favorite poets. I actually have a quote from one of his poems on my arm, tattooed with my quill and ink. For those of you who are curious, it says, "And I must borrow every changing shape to find expression." That's from his poem, Portrait of a Lady. Yeah, bit of a T.S. Eliot geek. But Marge Piercy is also really cool. She writes a lot of deeply personal poems about love. This is my favorite collection from her. It's called The Moon is Always Female. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you are into poetry. The next question is, what book could you reread again and again? Now, I'm sure this will be no surprise to anyone who's watched videos on my channel, but I'm going to have to say The Persimmon Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This is definitely the book that I have reread the most. I like reading it in the fall time. It's kind of a nice, coming of age, sort of nostalgic read for the whole back to school season and all of that. I love this book, and I can really relate to Charlie in a lot of ways. And this is really the first book that made me fall in love with young adult literature, even though it wasn't really considered young adult at the time that it came out. And when it came out, I was actually a teenager. The next question is, what book did you hate that everyone else loved? For this, I'm going to have to say The Maze Runner by James Dashner. This was one of those books where when I was reading it, I wanted to know what was happening, and I read it really fast, but by the time I got finished with it, I was like, well, that was kind of stupid. So yeah, I didn't really get that book. Now, I did see James Dashner speaking at YALLFest, and I thought he was really cool and really funny, and it made me feel a little bad, and it made me feel like maybe I should give his book another chance. But if I'm being honest, I really didn't like it. The next question is, what is the 26th book on your bookshelf? I guess this depends on how you want to count it, but I started at the top and just worked my way down. And the 26th book that I counted was Landline by Rainbow Rowell. I love Rainbow Rowell. She's probably my favorite new author, and I really enjoyed this book a lot. This is one of her adult books, and you should definitely read it if you are a human. The next question is, do you listen to music while reading? Yes, normally I do. Usually when I'm reading, I try to listen to kind of like instrumental stuff or really mellow, chill kind of music, or music that I know the lyrics so well it won't be distracting to me. I'll probably turn it down a little bit so that it's kind of in the background, but I like for there to always be music in my life. The next question is, do you use your local library? Yes, I do use my local library, although right now I owe them a fee because the last book I checked out, I was really late getting back. So I haven't used it in a while, but I am hoping to change that relatively soon. And I should probably find out, how much I owe them. The next question is, what are your favorite kinds of booktube videos? I really like tag videos. I think they are really fun, especially the really creative ones, or the really random ones where it's like, make a book cheeseburger. I think they're a lot of fun to do and a lot of fun to watch. The next question is, your favorite book is adapted into a film. Who makes up your dream casting? Well, my favorite book is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, which was already made into a film, and I think the casting was pretty perfect in that movie. But another one of my favorites that has not been made into a film is The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. And they did make, the Interview with the Vampire, which had Lestat in it, and then they made a god-awful version of Queen of the Damned, which kind of referenced some things that were in The Vampire Lestat, but that doesn't count. Anyway, I would love to see Chris Hemsworth as Lestat. I think he would be really interesting, and also I think he really looks like what I pictured Lestat to be in the books, and I would like to see his take on it. And the last question is, what was your favorite book that you studied in school? This probably changes depending on when you ask me, but right now I'm going to say Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I took an entire class in grad school where we did nothing but read Jane Austen books, which I thought was pretty awesome. Now, I did notice that when you're reading all of them back to back, they do kind of start to sound a little similar, and you kind of get them all sort of mixed up in your head. But Pride and Prejudice will always be one of my favorites. I really enjoy the way that it's written. It's uplifting, it makes me feel good. Gotta love some Jane Austen. Alright, that's it for the Sisterhood of the World Bloggers Award. Thanks again to Lydia for nominating me to do this. You should definitely check out Lydia's channel. I will link to that down below. She's a really cool booktuber, so check it out. I am going to nominate 10 booktubers as well to do this. Check the description. I will put you all there. And I will come up with 10 more questions for you guys. Alright, that's it for me. Thanks for watching.
Falling, little drops of rain come falling down.